Are you struggling to close deals? Cold outreach is wasting the time of both the buyer and seller at every stage, especially when sellers are using shallow and outdated data. Your organization can overcome these challenges with technology that translates comprehensive, high-quality buyer data into real-time insights. These deeper insights empower sales reps and teams to adopt the habits of top performers, which leads to better outcomes, like more pipeline, higher win rates, and larger deals. We call this deep sales. And we've built the first deep sales platform with the next generation of LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Right now, you can try LinkedIn Sales Navigator and get a 60-day free trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial for a 60-day free trial. Let LinkedIn Sales Navigator help you sell like a superstar today. Just go to linkedin.com/trial and get started.
Welcome to Criminality, the podcast we started because loving reality TV is not a crime. Melissa, we've said it once, we'll say it 55 more times at least. How are you?
I'm good. How about you?
I'm really good. It's been 1 week since I picked you up at the airport.
Mm-hmm. It's been 1 week. That's what I think of anytime I hear that.
It's been 1 week since you rolled up into LGA. And I was thinking about how that could have been like a love at first sight disaster.
Totally.
We could have maybe had no chemistry in real life, actually.
I know. I was slightly anxious. Well, I mean, I think I was good pretty quickly. It was very, I was nervous.
You can be honest.
I was nervous
Yeah.
but it was so much fun. Like immediately it was just fun. And I loved hanging out with you. It was the best.
It was the best. And a lot happened. We covered a lot of ground, literal ground. We walked so much. We saw so much. And I do think it would be fun to chat about it and debrief, but maybe we'll save it for after the story. What do you think?
I would love to. There's so many things to be said.
There are. And we had, it wasn't an altercation, but it got close.
I know. I almost was involved in 2 altercations.
Wait, what's the second
I
one?
was a witness twice.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. We have things to discuss. We did make a really short little highlight reel on our Instagram of our trip, which you can watch. But if you want to hear more details about Melissa Takes Manhattan with Rebekah, stick around to the end and we'll chat about it and we'll really go through everything we saw and did, which was a lot.
Yeah, can't wait.
Yeah, super fun. It was great having you. And the weather's a little better this week, sorry to say. It was really nice last week. It was very warm.
Cooler?
Yeah, this is like, this is the weather I told you it would be. It's like that low humidity. You do need a jacket. Like you didn't need a jacket last week. We were hot a lot. But hey, it didn't rain. So
it was great. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
It was good. Well, speaking of the heat, we're going to heat things up today, and we're going to be in your home state of Florida, Melissa. No surprise. Yeah, because Miami, I think, was one of my clues.
Yes,
it was. And since you're the Florida resident, have you been to Miami?
I have been to Miami, but only 2 or 3 times. And I've not been into any of the cool places. Like I've been to the airport.
Okay.
And
you have to go there.
Mandy and I stayed there when we went to this show for I Mom So Hard, and she picked the Airbnb. Yeah. And it was $35. I was very unfamiliar with Airbnb.
Wait.
So can you imagine?
A night?
A night. $35. You can see the beach outside, but you can also see lots of things you don't want to see. I didn't know how Airbnb worked. And after that, Mandy and I decided she's not allowed to book any of them. It's literally, I'll have to find the name of it. It's the second most haunted place, like known as the second most haunted place in the United States.
The location of the Airbnb that she chose?
Where we stayed. Well, it was like in a hotel. It's an old hotel. Like Al Capone stayed there.
Oh, that's cool.
It was a lot. Rebekah, the ghosts were the least of my problems. It was the living I was terrified of in that building. It was
fair.
The scariest thing ever. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so my experience with Miami is not going to be what other people have experienced. And I'm excited to hear how the other half live.
I want to hear more about the Airbnb. Like, I want my mafia ghosts, but like really high thread count and clean linens as well. Like, can we not have both?
The things I witnessed, the things I saw, the things I heard.
Gosh.
I prayed for a ghost to take me out. I was just done. I was terrified.
Okay, well, the Miami we're going to hear about today is going to be different from that because we're talking Real Housewives of Miami, of course. And I have been to Miami twice. And I have to say, I like it. I'm not cool enough for it. I'm not a huge nightlife person. So you can imagine it's like Vegas. It's a little lost on me, or it's like I'm a waste of space in Miami because I'm not fun. Mm-hmm. But I like Miami more than Vegas. Like, I love the music. I love art. Like, there's that big, I don't want to say it, but like the Art Basel, I think is how you say it. But that big like art show every year that everybody goes to, like, there's definitely, in terms of Florida, no disrespect, I could get excited about a trip to Miami more than a couple other places.
Careful. Okay. Stop it right there.
That's
Nothing
it.
else.
That's all. Period.
Don't
End
name
of
those places.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about a central figure in both the original cast of Real Housewives of Miami, seasons 1, 2, 3 is right. I was going to say 1 to 3, but 1, 2, 3, which aired between the years of 2011 to 2014. And I'm going into some detail here because I know Real Housewives of Miami is a crapshoot. I know some people have watched it, and like you, some people haven't yet. And I'm going to make my agenda very upfront. There's nothing hidden about this. Everyone needs to watch it. And if you don't want to watch it by the end of this episode, I might have to throw the towel in or turn the mic off. Like, I feel like I've failed you. So listen with an open mind, but do as I say also. Because it's just so good. So that original 3 seasons aired, and then just as soon as everybody saw them and they were here, they were gone. I did find a great 10 or 11 minute recap of seasons 1 to 3 on YouTube. And I'm going to post that in the show notes for anyone who doesn't want to go back and watch all 3. And for you, like, I think you could get the gist of who we're talking about, what the vibe is from this recap. Feel free to go back and watch all of them. The reboot is so fantastic, and their budget increased, and it's shot more like the girls trip, ultimate girls trip. It's just got that very cinematic, it's beautiful. And seasons 1, 2, 3 are not. It's the mid 2000s and it shows, and they did not have a big budget. It looked bad, like Uncle with camcorder kind of style.
Yeah, I watched the first episode and it very much felt like Real Housewives of Orange County.
Yes.
Like first couple episodes where you're like, ooh, nothing looks good here.
It's almost hard to watch. And these are beautiful women. Like, they did not do them justice. However, they all look entirely different. So that's kind of fun to note too. Like butts, lips, boobs, completely new. But today we're talking about a woman who has changed very little from season 1. She still looks and acts like herself. I mean, she's got some of the cosmetic changes that we would expect, but she's one of those people that is true to herself, whether you care for that or not. She's the cast member who have been called by many, including Andy, the Teresa of Miami, and who calls herself the Cuban Barbie. We're talking about Alexia Echeverria. Last time I'll say her last name. So before I get into the story, I really want to show you a clip. This is a clip-heavy episode, Melissa, this story.
Yay.
Yeah, because I could listen to and watch these women. Like, I mean, this story took me a while to write just because I kept getting sucked into like watching them. So I want to give you this clip, and I want listeners to hear this scene to kind of frame Alexia and where we're starting in her story. It's actually from the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip, Thailand, where Alexia was a member of the most recent girls trip. But some of her past comes up, and I just thought it would be a fun way to start. Go ahead and play that first clip.
From you, because I'm not. And it just like amazes me that you talk so freely like about weed. I know it's legal. I know it's medically necessary, but like, I know you have children. I have children, obviously they're older. And I'm wondering, like, when they see you on television and you're, you know, smoking weed, and you even shared that your daughter had found, you know, a paraphernalia or something where you had to have this conversation with her. How do you feel about that?
So here's the thing. Do I want my daughter to find a pipe? No. I am me, and my kids
No, I'm not
accept it
asking
and love
you for
it.
apologizing. We're getting off the topic. It's not about
It's hard.
you being
It's a
you.
hard balance because
Yes, it's not about being you. I think you're amazing. You have a 9-year-old and a 12-year-old. It's like a dangerous age, you know, where you're forming your children and you're...
Are you talking about this like from experience because of your ex-husband?
No, my ex-husband has nothing to do with this. I raised my children on my own.
Are you judging?
Yeah, I felt judged.
No, I'm not even judging. I really want to know because, like, as you were sitting there yesterday in the after party, when you were on the pole, and then the other night we went to the confessional, and I'm super liberal, but you know, what always has stopped me, what are my kids gonna think of me? What is the example I'm giving them?
I'm just surprised because you were married to a cartel member.
Ooh. Okay. Tell me more.
I just, Leah's not right a lot, but she nailed that. So there we go. That's a good way to start because that's where we're going to start. And if Alexia thinks she's the Cuban Barbie, well, every Barbie needs a Ken, and Alexia had hers. If by Ken, you mean a drug kingpin who helped build the largest cocaine empire in the world in the 1980s and 90s. Truly a love story for the ages. Here's how they met. Peter Rosello, known of course as Peggy, was a successful drug trafficker who worked for two notorious dealers, Willie Falcon and Sal Magluta. Willie and Sal were the head of this organization, and Peter was sort of their runner. He picked up drops, he did deliveries. If this was a corporate job, he was middle management. In the late 1980s, Peter was at this cafe diner in Miami having lunch with his brother, and he saw and noticed Alexia. Alexia is young. She's in her early 20s, and she's having lunch with an older man. And Peter and his brother are just commenting on this knockout blonde. She is quite noticeable. You'll see her behind me on my background. I will post these pictures on Instagram, but she's, she catches your eye.
Right.
And the brother's like, oh my gosh, you got to say something to this girl. She's so beautiful. And he's like, she's clearly having lunch with her older husband. Like, let's relax. Mm-hmm. So he didn't say anything. He didn't approach her. But as fate would have it, they ended up at the same nightclub later that week because it's Miami. And she's not with anyone and she doesn't have a wedding ring. And in fact, she was just having lunch with her dad at that diner. So she is very much single and quite ready to mingle. Lucky for Peggy, Peter. Now, Peter has a lot of money at this point. His middle management role was earning him $250,000 a month in 1988.
My brain's going to explode. I can't.
I know.
No.
I know.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure.
So he approaches her and they are like into each other. They're dancing and they start seeing each other right away. Casually, they're not exclusive, but they both admit this was pretty much love at first sight. And I mean, fair enough. Good looking couple, these two, like right behind me, just striking. Mm-hmm. This is a hot couple. I'll post pictures. Things move quickly. And despite Peter never saying what he specifically does for work, only that he works for the family business, Alexia doesn't find it strange at all that he has multiple cars, boats, large sums of cash all over his condo. The very first night she spent the night, he gets a call at 1 a.m. and he's like, I gotta go. It's work. I gotta go. And he's like, you can stay, but I gotta go. And she was like, that's weird. I don't know what he does for work or why he would need to do it at 1 a.m. So, yeah.
As a 6, my spider senses are tingling. You're going to have to explain this to me, sir. But good for her. I mean, no one's invited me into this world, so how would I even know?
Yeah, and I think the real question here is, did she not know or did she not want to know? Right?
Yes.
Because sometimes it's easier not to. But why don't we listen to the second clip, which will hear in her own words what she was thinking at the time.
In the very, very beginning, I never suspected anything of him. Peter did not look like a drug dealer to me. Like, I didn't know what a drug dealer was really supposed to look like, except maybe Scarface. Nobody, not any of his friends, none of my friends, nobody that I knew ever came to me and said, be careful with him. Everybody spoke so nicely of him. And I would ask him, well, what do you work? He's like, oh no, I run my father's business and my mom's business. So he would leave in the morning to go to the gym and to supposedly go work. But I didn't know what work was.
Ooh, okay, interesting. And also that clip gave me Teresa vibes, like knowing a little what's coming, just the little Easter eggs you're dropping now. Teresa never knowing what she was signing, what Joe was signing. Yeah. Okay. I see it.
There's like the context part that they're similar, like that they found themselves in similar situations, but there's also like
Right.
a manner of speech and their smile and even like a little bit their look that is it's weird. It's kind of weird.
That is.
I want to talk about that more at the end when we can really compare and contrast.
Sure.
So right after this clip, and again, this is taken, by the way, from Cocaine Cowboys, which is a Netflix doc that came out recently about Willie and Sal, the head honchos. But of course, Peter played a big role in it, and Alexia, because of her role being connected to Peter, and of course, she's a housewife, was a great talking head to have on this.
Yeah.
That's where this clip came from, and I would encourage people to watch it. I didn't watch all of it, just the parts with her in it, but it's really good, and I think I will go back and finish it. But literally 10 minutes into this same scene, she goes, after just saying she didn't really know what a drug dealer would look like and she didn't understand.
Yeah.
She talks about how this is not the first drug dealer she's dated. So this would be her MO on The Real Housewives, kind of talking out of both sides of her mouth, dropping bombs, playing dumb, or just blatantly lying to cover up. So unreliable narrator, very Teresa, but very watchable. I'm going to go ahead and say more watchable than Teresa. Okay.
I'm going to agree with you because Teresa's just hard for me to watch.
And listen to. Same. I find Alexia, I love her voice. I love watching her, all of it. So to get back to Peter's story and his involvement, the DEA and local law enforcement are really on to this cartel. And the reason they're so high on the list of priorities for the DEA is because at the point at which they started pursuing them, they had moved $2.1 billion of narcotics through Miami.
What?
And yeah. Massive. And the episode title that this clip is from is called 75 Tons. It was 75 tons of cocaine.
Whoa.
And so they know that to get Willie and Sal, they've got to get the guys beneath them first.
Right.
So Peter Rosello gets high. He's not high on the food chain, but he's high on the list of law enforcement. Meanwhile, things are moving along really well for Peter and Alexia, and he proposes to her. She says yes. She gets this huge ring that he pays for in cash, $42,000. She's still claiming she has no idea what he does. And she knows it's not mom and dad, but it is a family business.
Okay. But she doesn't even know the industry it could possibly be in. Like, that's never been a conversation. Just it's a family business.
Yeah. Specifically, he says he works for his mom and dad. His mom and dad had nothing to do with this. It was a family business. Him and his brother were these traffickers. Now, Peter isn't in hiding, but he knows he's being watched and he's laying low. He only goes out when necessary, and this does put a little strain on the relationship. Their wedding becomes a big part of the case because the police are waiting for the wedding day to infiltrate. And he gets word of this through informants. Yeah, because he's like, this is when he'll be vulnerable. He'll be public. He probably won't be armed. And like, this is
maybe
nobody will be expecting it.
It's Florida. Could be.
That's fair. So the head guy, Willie's brother's girlfriend, comes in the middle of the night to warn Alexia and Peter. That's how they find this off. And they're like, we got to call off the wedding because this is too risky. So at this point, Alexia gets clued into what's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Because it's kind of hard to talk around that. So, and it's kind of amazing what she does next, because in September of 1991, the DEA is like, okay, the wedding hasn't happened, so we're just going to go bang on his door. Peter's not there, but Alexia is. She continues her playing dumb thing. They're like, what's your name? Who lives here? And she's like, don't know him. And they're like, what are you doing in his house? And she's like, what are you doing at this house? I mean, she is fearless. And when she heard them coming, before they knocked down the door, I don't know how it actually ended up being open. She burns all the photos of his sports cars, him in the boats, anything with these assets that I guess they could seize or be proof of the shady business dealings. So she's just like running hard for him.
Whoa.
Yeah. I love that she went from like clueless to like fully just covering up for him.
Absolutely, yeah.
So at this point, yeah, I mean, she's a ride or die. Peter's running out of options. His brother, who also I mentioned was in business with him, he went on the run and actually to this day is a fugitive. He's never seen his family again. Like, they all believe he's safe, and he just took his family and got out of Dodge. And Peter didn't want that life. He was like, I'm turning myself in. I'm going to get a better deal. And he did what you're really not supposed to do, which is turned in Sal and Willie. So Sal and Willie, meanwhile, were hiding in different places in Miami, and Peter drew maps right to their safe houses.
Whoa.
Police go to capture Sal first. Everyone's in his home, like his team, family, whoever lives with him, but he slips out the back. He was eventually caught, as was Willie. The story is huge, one of the largest drug operations in history, which I mentioned, and you can watch all of it on Netflix. They go on, they've got trials, investigations. We're going to stay focused on Peter and Alexia and in Miami, but worth a departure for them because great story. Yeah. Now, Peter, meanwhile, was out on bond. He now had a year before he had to turn himself in to serve his sentence because I guess that was part of his deal.
I was going to say, that's a pretty sweet deal to have like a year to have to go into prison.
It's a very sweet deal. And I mean, he did give them the two top dogs. So now he has the opportunity to marry Alexia, which he does, and they have a baby named Peter Jr. Much more on him later. Later, after Peter is born, Alexia and Peter Sr., the dad, it's going to get confusing, learned that a hit was out on Peter the night she gave birth to the baby.
Whoa.
But Peter had stayed at the hospital because she didn't want to be alone. He was like, well, I'm going to go home and get some sleep. She was like, oh, no, you're not. Like, stay here. And they had been hiding out. And by they, not law enforcement.
Right.
These are like cohorts, cartel members, people who don't like rats, etc. Sorry, Jersey on the brain. So he complies with the order to turn himself in, and he does so. He is still sentenced. This is how serious the crime was, to 25 years.
Whoa.
That's like better than whatever he would have gotten, but he only serves 4.5. So again, this deal somehow, and I guess good behavior, I don't know, but
That's
from
a
25
very
to
sweet
4.5
deal.
years. Very. This happens a lot on this show. Like people do really bad things and then they get good lawyers, I guess. That's in the documentary too. They had John Gotti's lawyer. I mean, amazing attorneys. Watch the doc. It's pretty interesting. But it wouldn't be his last time in prison. Peter had a difficult time staying above the law and he violates parole a couple more times. First, he was arrested in 2007. This is really bad. For having sex with an underage girl. This would be rape. And it's not that she wasn't 18. This was a girl between the ages of 12 and 15 that he met at a nightclub. And in case you thought, well, maybe she looked older and he's really hot, as we mentioned, prison was not kind to him. It was only 4 years. This is Peter in his 40s. This picture to my,
Whoa.
I don't know which picture. That's a mugshot. He looks older than 40s, right?
I would have thought that was like current day.
Like 60. Yeah. He aged. The stress of it aged him. So this is very disturbing. Strangely, he did not get much time, maybe a few months, but he is now registered as a lifelong sex offender.
Good.
Yes. In 2017, he was caught selling 2 kilos of cocaine to an undercover cop. Oof. Yeah. He got a few years in prison for that, but was released just last year in 2022. Wait, I know. These are second and third violations.
I know. And to get that for selling drugs versus rape, only to get a few months for rape, that's infuriating.
You know what? Let's cool off from that. We're going to take a quick break to hear from today's sponsor, and then we're going to turn the heat back on because Alexia's story isn't even close to finished. So Peter Sr. is more or less out of the picture now. By this time, Alexia divorced him in 1995. They were only together 4 years. They had the 2 young babies. Oh, okay. And she really raised Peter and little Frankie on her own. But like any good housewife, Alexia decides it's time for a new husband, a better husband. One that will provide her the lifestyle to which she had become accustomed, but would preferably be legal, non-criminal. Enter Herman Echevarria. I did have to say that name again. She's referred to by that name, but she is married a third time, and I don't know if and when she's changing her last name. We'll look into that. So she meets Herman. I don't have a photo of him at the moment. A successful entrepreneur. They meet in 2001, and by 2004, they're married. Around 2010, they launch a magazine together called Venue, which is a lifestyle print magazine, where she serves as executive editor. Also, to Alexia's credit, she has an undergraduate and master's degree in special education.
Really?
That she never really applies formally. Like she didn't go into teaching, and she talks about that, but her family was all doctors and teachers. And the expectation was that she would be too, one of those things. And she always just said, I'm more creative than that. I want to go into advertising, creative basically she was born to be an influencer and that's what she becomes.
Yeah. Well, you don't want
you
somebody that's their goal to necessarily be teaching in special education. So I feel like if that was her vibe, it's probably better she did not continue that further.
/ being a doctor. Yeah. I'm going to say like the
True.
priorities of hers were not aligned with like special care education and medicine.
Yeah.
And so good on her for knowing that
That's
about
okay.
herself and doing something different. Absolutely. I will say another differentiation between Teresa. I think this woman has some real brains and like she's a little more intentional about her life.
Okay.
Okay. So this is when we meet Alexia on the premiere of Miami in 2011, married to Herman, co-owner of Venue, raising her now 2 teenage sons, Peter and Frankie. Now, between seasons 1 and 2, the most tragic and unimaginable thing happens to her younger son, Frankie. He is in a life-changing car accident. Do you
Yes. Okay.
remember
I
hearing
have
about this?
some, I have some knowledge about this.
It's so sad. He was 13, riding as a passenger with a friend driving. So how old could the friend be? 16, probably. And they have a collision with a car going in the opposite direction that flew across the median of the highway. And Frankie went into a coma and he was in the pediatric hospital for 3 months because his brain was so swollen. But eventually the swelling came down, but he spent another 3 months in the hospital recovering, which included relearning how to walk and talk.
Man.
And this accident left him with lasting brain injuries. Now, viewers would see some of this in season 2 because he was a different kid. I mean, he was completely different. And Alexia was a different woman because this,
You'd have
say
to
whatever you want about her, this woman is devoted to her sons. And she was, an integral part of his recovery. And her participation on the show was less in those seasons because her priority was Frankie. Also interesting that the show kind of crumbled and was canceled. And I'm not saying it's because she wasn't in it as much, but she really is. I think she's the anchor and the glue of the show. So we're going to get a little more about Frankie later on, but that's timing wise what happened there. Now, this led to a lawsuit. In 2013, she sues the insurance company because she says they intentionally left out part of the clause that would have assisted in paying for his treatments and recovery, which were now in the millions, which you can only imagine how expensive. You and I talk sometimes
Specialized
about
care and
just minor surgeries we've had that not everything's covered. And it blows my mind what I get left with to pay.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine what this would be. So she wants assistance paying for his treatments from this 2010 accident. And she's like, what I enrolled in and signed in 2008 is not what I've received. And everything I read says the judge has yet to rule, but these were all written in 2013. But they were written in 2013 and there's nothing more recent. So I'm sure there's been a ruling. I can't imagine it's 10 years later and she's waiting for an answer.
Got it.
But I don't know what the resolution is. But I know she was fighting to get recovery, like financial recovery from a recoup from what she poured into his recovery. And by the way, like he has come miles. Like he's doing very, very well.
Yeah.
But needless to say, this was a massive blow for Alexia, who really, I mean, just in what I've told you so far, she's had a lot to deal with. Her best friend Marisol on the show, who we'll actually meet in a clip coming up, often says, she says this throughout many episodes, that Alexia's life is like a movie. There's always a plot twist or a bomb dropping. And it's true because there's still more I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
So Herman and Alexia seem mostly happy.
I've been described as that. Mostly happy.
I don't know that I have.
I know. I'm thinking like casually, sometimes happy. Has shown characteristics of a happy person at one time.
Residual, yeah. Rebekah would be described as mostly volatile, would be the most accurate. Alexia and everyone in their family and community was shocked when he died unexpectedly at age 61. He was a bit older than her, by the way, but 61 is still very young. First, it was reported to be a heart attack. Then it was announced that it was natural causes. There's still debate and controversy within his family, friends, and professional peers. Like everybody seems to have a theory on what happened, but I guess officially the autopsy said natural.
Interesting.
So this was in 2016, and to make it more complicated, they were actually separated. So when I said mostly happy, they weren't entirely happy. They were not yet divorced, but they were kind of living separately under the same roof. So,
oh my gosh, that's my nightmare.
never works out well. We've seen this play out more than once on other franchises. And like Alexia, Herman had 2 sons from a previous relationship, a bit older than Alexia's kids. They're like in their 20s. And they were unkind to her, very mean. They just were not kind to her. So they're both listed as heirs to their father Herman's estate. But Alexia had signed a prenup that clearly laid out Herman's desire to make sure she was taken care of in the event of his death. Per the prenup, Herman gave instructions that upon his death, the deed to the Miami Beach house, which is really a mansion, there's our clue, would be transferred solely to Alexia. The problem was that the couple wasn't married at the time he purchased the home in 2003. So this gave his sons a bit of a legal loophole because of the separation and that she wasn't legally married to him at the time of the purchase. So as executors of the estate, they fought that and did not want Alexia to become the owner. In fact, they wanted to kick her out so they could sell it. But Alexia had lived there for 13 years and raised her sons there. Yeah. So Alexia files a lawsuit requesting a judge to award her exclusive use of the property. But Nelson and Herman Jr. wanted her to leave, like I said, so that they could sell it. The judge ended up dismissing the lawsuit. They want to move it to probate court, where they kind of included as part of the estate execution. So this would become one of many things that these sons and Alexia would fight over, including the Maserati, third clue, that Herman had gifted Alexia for a birthday one year. It's like, that's a gift.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't know the exact resolution of the home dispute. I hate when that happens, when you have to...
It happens so much too.
I think a lot of these things get settled quietly. And so the answers aren't really publicly available. But I do know that she stayed in the house until at least 2017, a year later, because she was hit with a foreclosure. So I'm wondering if she maybe regretted keeping the house because those mortgage payments must have been high because the house was not paid off. I think it was like worth $3 million at this point. So I don't know exactly how or when she left, but Alexia would find a new guy soon and would move into a new mansion, which was good because Alexia would have other legal battles to fight. It seems like there was more bad financial news waiting for her around every corner. Now, Melissa, you know you're rich when you are not only in arrears on your home payment, but also on your country club dues. Am I right?
Ugh, yeah. Been there.
Yeah. Hate when that happens. They belonged to an exclusive club called the Fisher Island Club. Do you know it?
I mean, everything sounds familiar to me at this point. Yeah.
Is Fisher Island a neighborhood or like an island off of Miami? We don't know.
Have you ever had that moment when you're leaving the house and you wonder, did I lock the door? Or worse yet, you start spiraling and you imagine all the what ifs. I used to feel that way all the time, but it wasn't until a few years ago when I heard about a break-in just a few blocks away that I realized I needed to really step up my home security game. And now I can spiral about the what ifs on things that don't matter, like reality stars, instead of the what ifs of home security. We've had SimpliSafe protecting our house for the last few years now, and it's a total game changer. With SimpliSafe's Fast Protect monitoring, I know within 5 seconds if something's actually up, and the lifeguards can actually speak to intruders to stop them. That's faster than a reality TV star can throw a drink. One of the things I really love the most is you're not locked into some over-the-top 90-day fiancé level contract drama. SimpliSafe is actually affordable as well, less than $1 a day with no hidden fees, so it's easy to love. It's no wonder they've been named Best Home Security Systems by U.S. News and World Report for 5 years running. Whether you want to install it yourself, it really takes less than an hour, or have a professional handle it, SimpliSafe is as easy as flipping channels between Chimp Crazy and The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. So why wait for the drama to happen? Get SimpliSafe and know your home is covered just like I did. Protect your home with 50% off a new SimpliSafe system, plus a free indoor security camera when you sign up for Fast Protect monitoring. Just visit simplysafe.com/criminality. That's simplysafe.com/criminality. There's no safe like SimpliSafe.
Achieving a gorgeous grin from home isn't a total mystery with Bite Clear aligners. Just don't be surprised if all of your sleuthing friends start asking, "What's your secret?" Begin by ordering your at-home impression kit today for only $14.95. Bite Clear aligners are doctor-directed and delivered to your door. Treatment costs thousands less than braces. Plus, they offer flexible financing, accept eligible insurance, and you can pay with your HSA FSA. Get 80% off your impression kit when you use code WONDERY at Byte.com. That's BYTE.com. Start your confidence journey today with Byte.
Not that I know of.
Oh,
unclear.
So it costs $250,000 to join, or at least it did in 2006 when they became members. And when the club sent her this infraction notice, it stated that she owed $166,000 in back dues plus interest. I mean, plus interest? Like, come on.
Yeah, you're never going to see that.
Oh, so my suspicion is that she wanted to keep the house and the lifestyle after Herman passed, but was not entirely aware of the overhead costs that maybe he had been shouldering and that she wasn't without his like active income.
Yeah.
So also worth mentioning, because she does, upon Herman's passing, rumors among Miami began flying. There were rumors that he was gay, and not only that he was gay, but that he had a lover. And not only that he had a lover, but that he died in bed with the lover. You get the idea.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Probably not what happened, but it's just kind of how the telephone game went. Alexia would later reveal in the reboot of Real Housewives of Miami and elaborate on this and on the Ultimate Girls Trip. And people had a big problem with her doing this. I'm going to give you a clip to listen to, and I want to hear your thoughts.
After my father died, I found out that he was gay.
Oh my God. Your father?
My father.
You never told me that.
Never told anybody. It's the first time in 31 years that I have actually said this. My mother, I understand now, and I kind of like forgive her because she was protecting me. Like, she didn't want me to have like that vision of my dad, which she thought was like a bad thing, but it was actually a good thing. My dad was like the best dad in the world.
All this information about Alexia's father being gay, this is like a bomb, but that's Alexia's life. It's always like one crazy story after another.
But Alexia, you know what they say, we always repeat a pattern of our parents.
So 20 years later, I married a gay man. I married somebody like my dad, and then my dad and Herman took that secret to the grave.
Oh, wow.
Okay, wow, that was a lot to unpack. And who was it that you said, who was the other lady with that had the bun, who said her life is just like a series of, basically
Marisol.
she lives, Marisol. She lives basically a Lemony Snicket's kind of life, just a series of unfortunate events. Yeah,
Exactly.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And the criticism was basically that, so your dad and Herman both took their true identities to their grave and you're outing them.
Yeah.
Not your story to tell. And Alexia pushed back and said, I was his daughter and I was his wife. That affects me. And therefore it is my story to tell. And she kind of not twists the narrative, but she takes on the narrative and she becomes an advocate for LGBTQ causes. And I think it propelled her to do that, which is wonderful. But there's just not a consensus on whether it was her story to tell. And it sounds like a lot of family members and of Herman and her father felt like it wasn't. But it's a big part of her storyline. And I'm bringing it up because it happens on the show. Okay, so to move along in Alexia's life and story, we're going to talk about her sons again for a minute. And Peter, her eldest son, named after his dad, truly it's like father, like son, unfortunately. Now, he definitely got his dad's good looks. Peter's a good-looking guy. Actually, Frankie, too. They're cute kids. These genes all worked together very nicely as a family. But unfortunately, good looks aside, Peter seems to have a predilection for crime, like his dad. Ooh. Have you heard any stories about Peter?
I think I have. The further we get into this, we were kind of saying off mic, I do feel like I know some stories about Miami, but I never knew who they were connected to. So at this point, I'm assuming they are all about her. I feel like maybe he fought with someone, like an unhoused person.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You hit it on the head. And it's exactly right. Even if you don't watch the show, it seems like whenever a Housewives Kids does something, we hear about it. First of all, I just want to say, it seems like he has a weird chip on his shoulder. He comes across very entitled and disrespectful on the show. And I always think if that's how they show him in these brief scenes for a couple of minutes, like what must he be like in real life?
Knowing the camera's on you.
Right, exactly. Like if you're unwilling to hide it even for that little time, like surely you're a monster.
Yeah.
So Peter's first brush with the law happened in 2012. He was a teenager and he attacked an unhoused person who was sleeping.
Oh my gosh.
More specifically, the headline literally reads, he nut punched him. So gross. TMZ cameras caught it and exposed it. Peter was charged for the attack and he pleaded guilty in order to avoid jail, and he got out of it by paying just a fine. Now, he was a teenager, so I guess he could have gone to juvie. I don't know how that works.
Ugh.
But he went onto Facebook in an effort to repair his reputation and said the following.
Oh, no.
Quote, "Didn't mean to offend anyone. They," meaning homeless people, "got my love. I always give them like $5 or some weed."
Oh, hero.
Yeah, that's what I wrote. He's a real do-gooder.
Yeah.
Also, is that an apology? Like, it doesn't sound like one to me.
No, it sounds like the exact opposite of that. Whoa.
So what would you say to your son, God forbid, if they did something like that?
I mean, I don't even know. I don't think I can even put myself in that situation at this point.
You'll never have to.
Yeah.
Believe in your parenting and your child more than that. But here's what Alexia said when Andy challenged her about this at the reunion. Super short clip, but it's perfect.
I want to talk to you about Peter, who made some news recently. Your other son, who is how old?
Peter just turned 20.
And he was recently arrested. What happened?
The only thing that explains this type of behavior is, you know, all these emotions and all these feelings that he's feeling about with the brother. So, you know, he made a stupid mistake and he knows it.
He hit a homeless man.
Yeah, I feel like calling it a mistake is, yeah, that's not a mistake in my world. That's something that was very intentional. And maybe that's just she had to know she was going to answer that question and she chose to use the word mistake. Oof.
Yeah. And she didn't answer it, right? She answered it very indirectly.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate that Andy punctuated that with the, like, let's call the spade a spade. There was another incident that didn't lead to an arrest, but came up at the season 3 reunion. Same thing. Andy grills her about Peter's behavior and she makes up another excuse for him, saying he's so distraught over Frankie's accident. And I don't doubt that that's true.
Of course.
You know, trauma, the father being in prison, there's a lot going on. But not helping your growing kids take responsibility for their actions isn't going to help them process any of it. So there's denial going on in every direction.
Sure.
And she is, like, to a fault, blindly adoring of her son, Peter. And she does the same thing to Frankie. It's just that Frankie happens to be a sweet angel. And, like, so I don't have a problem with it.
Right. Totally
it's
fine.
Just Peter's entitled. And I have to say, you parent your kids differently. Like, you might have the same
100%.
overall core values, but you have 2 very different kids. I have 3 kids. They're all different from each other. And what I do with one does not work with the other. And I don't think Alexia is good at tough love. And so she just doesn't do it. It's very hard. So he goes on and gets in trouble in 2013 for marijuana possession. And in 2022, just last year, and this played out on a recent episode on the most recent season of Real Housewives of Miami, the reboot, he got charged with a battery misdemeanor for an altercation with his girlfriend, who ended up dropping the charges. She didn't want to pursue it because she said, we were both drinking, we were both fighting. And so, of course, Alexia took that and ran. And the way she talks about it on the show is she was just as much at fault. In fact, she initiated it. That wasn't Peter's fault. And again, it's just, we're seeing the pattern, and this kid just keeps getting into trouble. And it actually kind of scares me because I think, you know, from the work you do on your other show, like how those situations pan out when a woman is often too afraid to say, oh, totally, I want to maintain these charges. Who knows what really happened? But
he doesn't have a good track record to.
He doesn't have
to make you think that could be true. It's
That's exactly right. According to the state attorney's office, the quote is, the victim stated definitively she did not want to cooperate with the state, refused to provide a statement as to what transpired. So it was dropped. So then we'll go back to Frankie for a minute. We do see him in the reboot. He's older. He's like maybe 20 now. He's a young adult, but he still lives at home with Alexia, and he just adores her. He's so sweet, and he's obviously walking and talking, recovered tremendously, but he still can't really live independently. He doesn't have any physical limitations, but there's like a naivete about him. Like, it really almost halted his brain so that he's cognitively younger than his physical years. So living alone isn't really an option. But Alexia is so determined to find a path for him and to give him a purpose. And she also knew she would need to find another source of income. So after Herman died and Venue magazine closed after 10 years, she decided to open up a business that she would include Frankie in. So she opened up a beauty bar in 2017. It's called Alexia and Frankie's Beauty Bar, and it's a nail and beauty salon. And he doesn't like work officially, but he goes and he like assists, and he makes customers really happy because he's like just pure gold inside. He's just one of those people. I really admire that. I think she's just always looking for ways to make his life better.
Yeah.
And she's thinking of his future. And a lot of the more recent episodes are about him getting independence, because actually she's meeting with professionals from the medical community who are like, Frankie could live alone someday.
Yeah.
You're holding him back. And she had no idea. And again, I think this is like the only way she knows how to parent is to like just love.
Yeah. Yeah.
She's Teresa. But people were saying, no, you need to like help him build skills. And so he's now enrolled in a program where he's learning self-sufficiency skills. And the goal will be for him to one day work and live on his own. And it's totally possible.
That's
so
awesome.
that's been a very cool progress to watch.
Yeah.
So in 2019, so we're getting really recent here, Alexia gets engaged to a guy named Todd Napola. Todd is a real estate investor and developer, very handsome. Sad I didn't add pictures, but I'll put some on the Instagram.
Okay.
Very cute. And they get to wedding planning right away because they're not wasting time. Now, if you noticed, I said they got engaged in 2019. So we all know what happened right after that.
Right.
COVID completely disrupted their plans. And when they finally set a date and planned this wedding, you will not believe what happened on their actual wedding day.
Did they get COVID?
No, Alexia's mother died of COVID because she'd already had it. So what was supposed to be the best day of her life turned into the biggest nightmare. Yeah. So her wedding fell apart. They didn't do it, obviously. And she was mourning the loss of her mother. And this was all happening right before the reboot of the show. So a big part of the show was like, when are you going to plan that second wedding? And people were being kind of obnoxious about it. I'm like, considering why it fell apart, this is not something to push on. This is not a 7-year engagement for no reason.
Like Robin and Juan.
Thank you. That's what I want to say.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're exactly right. And yes, it was traumatic. So after the newer season wrapped, they end up just going to St. Bart's and they elope. And honestly, I think it was the best thing they did. Literally, it was just the two of them. No friends, no family. They had a photographer, so they captured it. It looks beautiful. And the other reason they might have done this is because there is a little bit of tension between Todd and her son, Peter. Todd seems to be the first one in her life to challenge Peter.
Okay.
He sees him for who he is and he pushes back because he thinks he's old enough and he's a grown man.
Yeah.
And he's right. But everything else, as far as I can tell, they've only been married since 2021, but they seem very happy and it's going well so far. Legal, drama, crime free. Stay tuned.
Knock on wood.
Now, I just want to end this with like a little more levity and a little harder sales pitch. So there are some moments from the reboot seasons 4 and 5 on Peacock that are just too good not to share with you, Melissa, and our listeners. And Alexia's at the heart of them. So it's still all about her. As I said, I think she's the foundation of the show, but I just want to remind everybody that before there was Scandival, there was Lenny and Lisa. And this was bad. Who wants to compare marital trauma, or relationship trauma? Yeah, everyone listening. This is up there. This might be worse than Scandival because there's kids involved. So please go to the Lisa Lenny clip.
Okay.
And watch how the women on Miami who have been through many fights, we haven't gotten into that, but there's a lot of drama. They're always fighting about something, which is why it's so good. Watch how they come together for Lisa and watch how Alexia in the pink cowboy hat responds.
Is there anybody else involved? Because like it's
There is somebody else.
There's somebody else involved. I always knew.
Lenny's dating her now. He's dating her.
That's not okay.
She's much younger than him.
What? Oh my God.
She's been lurking around. She's just been all at parties in my house. He's dating her. He's telling me to my face, I'm dating her. This is going to be my girlfriend. I'm divorcing you.
No, Lisa, that's not okay. Wait. Is he still in your same house? Okay, no. Is he in your house? What?
Why is he still there?
No, I can't.
He wants to kick me out of the house.
Something is going on.
He said, you need to go find a home for you and the kids.
What about a home for his kids? Oh, my God.
He's lost his mind. This is one of the lowest lows I have ever experienced in my life.
Oh my gosh. I love how they all take it up another level. Like, what?
Yes, the screaming is so good. Like sometimes whenever she says something new, one of them goes, ah! Like they can't. A few later in this very season, when the Lisa Lenny stuff is still unfolding, Lisa gets a call from her nanny. They're out on a vacation. It's like a girls' trip. The nanny calls and is like, Lenny told me to go to the guest house. He won't let me in. He's in there with the other girl. And Lisa comes in and tells the friends. Now, that is upsetting, but I don't think anything is like dangerous is about to happen. And Alexia is like, call 911. Like, it is the best scene. And I feel so sad for Lisa. It's so awful, but this scene is gold. Like, it's so, so good. In closing, I want to share what happened at pretty much, the last episode of the most recent season. So this was a big part of the reunion that happened for Miami. They were in the Bahamas. The women actually stayed at the hotel that I stayed in once at the Bahamas. I know. They were in the exclusive VIP one that I didn't have access to. My wristband didn't let me into that one, but still. And what happened was they had a rage release ceremony. It was one of those like nonsense things they do on the shows where like you scream or, it's releasing whatever. So they're all screaming and they're standing in the ocean, but just with their feet in the water. But a wave comes. And so a couple of them topple over and they land on Adriana's ankle. Okay. Haven't talked about Adriana. She's absolutely ridiculous. And her and Alexia, they're kind of nemesis.
Love it.
I don't know how to say nemesis. Nemesis. And really, she's so dramatic. Maybe it was sprained, wasn't broken. She's in a wheelchair. It's wrapped. She has men carrying her up the boat, like so over the top. And then this fight happens. And it's like when you activate Lindsay on Summer House or really Teresa. Like this, I can't believe Alexia didn't flip. There were no tables, a beach chair. Take a look at this fight that happened.
Okay.
You guys, thank you so much. I felt so happy to see everybody dancing to my song and having a good time.
It's a good song. It's a great song. It's a great song.
You guys are hard, tough, and if you approve it, I feel like this song's gonna be a hit.
Well, we weren't judging your musical talents. I think the other things we have difficulty with you are in other things.
Did anybody care that my foot almost got broken in 1,000 pieces?
Almost, it didn't happen.
That was at the end.
Why are you always a victim, Adriana? Like, why do you have to play the victim thing? Don't do that.
I'm not a victim. I can't even enjoy myself.
But it was an accident. It could have happened to any of us.
I know, but accidents, have consequences. As you know, we Frankie.
Don't bring up Frankie.
But
do not bring up Frankie.
Accidents.
Drop it.
Oh my God.
Oh, no, you.
Who would compare her little nothing to Frankie's accident? The level of craziness in this is insane.
I could have lost my foot.
She's dead. You are dead in the water, my friend.
Oh my gosh. How could you ever compare that? That is so, it goes beyond insensitive. It's just, I can't words.
I know.
I can't words.
Well, the problem is that she doesn't immediately realize what she did and take it back. She doubles down.
Yeah.
It's beyond comprehension. I don't know how Alexia didn't throttle her. I don't know how she did it.
No, if I was a cameraman, I would have turned the cameras off so there was no witness to what happened next because she should have done whatever she wanted to. Yeah.
Yes. So that was actually that was the second to last episode. So that was like a to be continued. It picks up and Alexia's next words are, "This is why your life is the way it is because you deserve it because you're miserable and horrible and anything that's bad that's happened to you, you absolutely deserve," which is a tough thing to say given how many bad things have happened to her. Like it's almost worse than a punch. So things did not get better between them. But the problem is Adriana's song is amazing.
Is it?
And all the women can admit it. Yes. It's real catchy. I mean, she didn't write it. She literally sat down with, better.
Okay.
In fact, Let's just do it.
Okay.
My home is your home. Mi casa es tu casa. Miami's the place donde todo pasa. Miami's on fire. Miami's on fire. Miami's on fire. Miami's on fire. Fuego, fuego, fire. Fuego, fuego, fire.
That's a banger. That is
Fuego.
a banger.
Fuego.
Yeah.
I know. FYAH, FYAH. That little simple hand up 2-step thing, none of them could do it. They were all so drunk, so unwilling to participate. They hate her so much. That scene that they filmed this was so wonderful.
Oh, I've got to see it.
But I really enjoy this song. And you know what? We needed a new Miami song.
Oh, for
Since
sure.
Will Smith's, what have we had?
Can I tell you, I almost came in with my background being of going to Miami. My son thinks that's such a funny song. I don't know why.
It is a great
but
song. It
he
is
thinks
funny.
It's hilarious.
Bienvenido a Miami.
So I've picked him up a few times playing that, and he's just like, "What is happening?"
That's a cool song to have the door, the minivan roll up, and that's playing.
Yeah,
you
you
open
know?
the door. Yeah,
Yeah.
It's so cute. Yeah. So basically, that's a snippet of the life of Alexia, and thanks for going on the ride.
Yeah. Okay. So very interesting. She's lived like 18 lifetimes already.
No joke.
I would be terrified to marry her only because it doesn't seem like anything good can come from it. I'd kind of be scared to be in her orbit. So is there a 4th and 5th season on Peacock, or is it just 4th? Okay.
Yeah.
And you feel like if people watch you'll link that, because I do feel like we all now have a little bit of information about her. I knew Larsa Pippen / Jordan is on there. Yep. And Leah Black. I know the Watch What Crappens guys love Leah Black.
Yeah.
So I've just watched one episode and I was like, eh. But I watched the first season. So you're telling me if I watch a recap, I can catch up and get in? Because I'll do that.
I think so, especially because only Alexia, Adriana, and Larsa and Marisol, okay, 4 of them.
Oh my gosh.
There's like...
You went from 1 to all.
Okay, there's 4. No, it's like half. Like literally half the cast is new in the reboot. And in my opinion, they're better. Like Leah Black, maybe you could say is missed. But who they got in the reboot, Kiki, Gertie, Nicole, love Julia, who's married to Martina Navratilova, the tennis star.
Yeah.
Like what? She's the one who called Alexia a barracuda in a fight, which is why that was on my background. She was like,
I do love it.
Barracuda. And the Spanglish, they move from Spanish to English. I love it. It is so good. So yeah, I do. I think you could watch a recap. Okay. And you could just start at season 4 and then watch the girls trip in Thailand, because Alexia and Marisol go and engage with Potomac and all the other women and Leah from Roni. It's pretty good. I
loved it. I learned a lot. I learned some of that was just that I knew some things, but had no idea it was all the same person. Like she
Within
really has been through a lot. Yeah.
I do think Miami is for you what Atlanta is for me. Like I'd known some of the stories from when you did Apollo's episode, but I didn't equate it necessarily with the right person. So I need to watch Atlanta. You need to watch Miami, and we'll revisit both.
Good luck. I've got 2 seasons versus your 13
I know.
or
That's
whatever.
why I've never started, because I'm just like,
It's
this
hard.
is a really big commitment, but I'm willing to do the work. I mean, if I did Sister Wives, I can do Atlanta.
Yeah, true. It should be less painful, actually. Atlanta, especially
hope.
early seasons, are everything. Yeah. FYAH, however you spell that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fuego.
Oh, sorry.
Fuego. That's my favorite part. No, FYAH too.
Okay.
But just that like weird, serious fuego.
Yeah.
Fuego. It's so good.
It's awesome.
Well, thanks. Thanks for listening. And could you tell me what you're watching, and have we not talked about it? Because it was weird seeing you, because we talked about a lot, and I'll be shocked if you're watching something I don't know about.
So I feel like I mentioned it to you, but it might have just gotten gone over in passing. So mine is Netflix comedy Rehab.
Is it Mae Martin?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay. Well, she has a Netflix special, and she went to rehab, and
I feel like a lot of comedians probably have.
Rehab. John Mulvaney.
Yes, John Mulaney.
Yeah.
It's Baby J is the name of the special. So here's the thing. Always loved John Mulaney. I was a little concerned to watch this because this is him in a totally different light. He's not the married guy who adores his wife, all that drama that went on. He's now a dad.
This was on the heels of all of that, right? This came out like right after all that. Yeah.
So, actually, it just came out like 2 weeks ago. But I've read a lot of like the stories he tells. Yeah. Because they've released all of those things. Anyway, it was really, really well done. You kind of look at him in a different light. Like it's not the same way he would tell stories. So that was a little like jarring for me. It is and it isn't. I will say I was concerned I was going to watch it and it was going to be like an Olivia Munn like love fest now that he's with her, but there's not a single mention of her. And she hasn't done, I don't know that whole, who knows what people do, behind closed doors. I don't know that, but I feel like it would have felt like a slap in the face to his ex-wife to have like come out and been like, and now I'm in love. And so I appreciated him not doing that. He mentioned his son. It was a very small part, which I think is sweet and endearing. But if you were kind of on the fence about watching it, I really enjoyed it. It wasn't my favorite of his specials, but like there was a lot to it that I really enjoyed.
It also would have been kind of like, not cheap, but low hanging fruit if he'd come in talking about her. Because that's like the gossipy headlines that like would have been feeding into that. So I'm kind of glad he.
Yeah, no, I felt like it was more work to go around all that.
I agree.
So I think he did a really good job with it. Yeah. So if you're looking for a comedy special, that's the one I would give you.
I'm always looking for a comedy special. So that's a good endorsement. And I think I did tell you when I saw you. But your clues are Netflix. Mm-hmm. It's too easy.
I know it. Jewish matchmaker.
Thank you. Don't make me like, say things. Indian matchmaking, now Jewish matchmaking. I want all the cultural matchmakings. If it helps give credibility at all, my daughter watched it. Like she's studying for finals and this is like her reward when she's not studying.
Okay. Your daughter is eternally cool. All of your kids are. And so that's going to be how you sell me on things from now on. If you
just
say
know you respect her opinion more than mine, which is fine. It's cool. That's fine.
She's cooler than both of us. She's cooler than everyone.
That's why I said it.
Yeah. Okay.
She loves it. It's endearing. It's also there's a diverse spectrum of what Jewish matchmaking means. So you have everybody from observant Hasidic to reformed, spiritual, not religious,
right?
Culturally Jewish. It's all in there. And this matchmaker works with all of those people and their different idiosyncrasies and wants and desires and needs and matches them with people. And, it does and doesn't work out as is life.
Right.
But I am just such a fan of these matchmaking shows. And I need to take a minute and think about why.
Yeah, I think
I haven't yet. I should. I guess I'm finding it really refreshing that there are still people in the world who at least say they want to get married.
Yeah.
Because I think there's so much on TV that's like not like that. And I just think that's not the way people date or look at their future anymore. And
it is interesting.
I don't know.
Sure.
It's sort of fun to watch that. I don't know. Maybe it's just affirming my life choice to get married. I'm like, see, it's great. Everyone wants to do it.
Everyone's doing it.
I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. So
I'd be interested in watching that, especially with your daughter's endorsement. I should at least watch one episode because I've seen a couple clips that I thought were like funny or interesting.
You sent me one and he comes on very late. He is definitely the most like oddball of the whole bunch. Most people are pretty normal. He's weird.
I love it.
And he gets and I end up really liking him. And I love who he goes on a second date with. I'm rooting for them. So give it a try if you need something light. And otherwise, let's just talk about what the next show is going to be about.
Okay, Rebekah, I'm coming to you for something I have not researched very much, but I do know a lot about, and I'm really hoping I can pull it together.
Oh, you can.
I can. Okay, here we go. VH1.
Okay.
Brother. Florida.
Ooh, we're going to stay in Florida. How
We're
fun.
staying in Florida. Is it?
VH1. So is it a musician?
VH1, brother.
Florida. I'm
That's
going
all
to get
giving
this.
you. Mhm.
I'm going to think about it and I'm going to get it.
I believe in you.
I'm excited. I think Florida is where some really good stories happen. So let's
I
stay
know.
there.
Perfect. And if you're ready, we can talk a little bit about our trip before we go.
I'd really like to. I want to hear, how you've processed it and what you're thinking about New York. It was just your second visit. I want to know how it held up to your first. It was better, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Okay, so where to start? I mean, I picked you up on a Wednesday night. It was late-ish, so we took you right to the hotel. I went home, and then we met up Thursday and began our semi-aggressive. Oh, okay, yeah. I was going to say itinerary, but it was an adventure too.
I would like to add that Rebekah was so kind as to send me an itinerary, which is like very much my love language. I need to know what's going on because then in my brain I can be like, okay, you're going to be on. Not like you have to be on with friends, but it is an introvert's, like, it's a struggle. And so, not a struggle. It was great being with you, but it's nice knowing like I've got this carved out time where I can just
decompress,
not think. And
Well, I've been planning the whole trip in my brain and realized I know what we're doing and when, and you probably have had like snippets of, I'm not always like a complete thinker. So I was like, I'm going to send this little note from my notes app to Melissa. And I knew you might appreciate that.
It really, like, it's making me beam right now. Like I loved it so much. I'm like, I wish everyone in my life was this thoughtful because it really does help me. The worst thing you can do to me is like spring on a new thing.
Yeah.
Because I'm not emotionally, healthy enough to be able to do that. So
yeah, look, neither of us are sevens. So there's no spontaneity.
No.
We were like, we're pretty flexible, I would say.
I would say
a couple
too.
things changed slightly, but we stuck to our itinerary pretty well. And as we experienced, and we'll tell you, things went amazing, except for that one time.
Honestly, but that like just made for a good story.
Completely.
My getting to the airport was so difficult for whatever reason. There was so much
on your side in Florida.
Yeah, to get to, and I've never
right.
had that happen.
That's right.
And so it was chaos. Like luckily my flight was delayed a few minutes, so I could actually eat a hot dog on the ground before I left.
Amazing.
And I got in, and it was chaotic when I was getting off the plane, just crazy. But as soon as I got off, I was like, oh. Yeah. This is amazing. And the rest of the trip was perfect.
Yeah. I told my husband, I'm like, it was an amazing time, but Melissa thinks, New York is like always warm and things go according to plan. And that is just not true, but I'm so glad it worked out that way. So Thursday, I met you at your hotel, like late morning. Okay. We don't need to get that detailed. See, it's the itinerary
No,
talking.
I like it. I just can't remember. Mm-hmm.
And then we walked to Central Park where we took a tour by an actor in the city, and it was specifically like an actor, as we like to say, like a TV and movie. What was it? It was like scenes of famous TV and movie moments in the park.
Which was cool, except there was an iPad, and that was useless. The iPad was so bright.
Yeah,
every time the iPad came over, I was like, I don't see anything. I felt
the visuals were unhelpful in outdoor weather with 12 people and an iPad in the sun. It wasn't even really necessary.
Not her fault, but I
Not
can
her
see where
fault.
some people would want to see that. But
yeah,
we literally couldn't see.
She was great. And I learned so much. I was probably the most excited person, the only one from New York who was like, wait, what? I learned so much.
She really did. It was great.
Then we had a real New York minute moment where we ran into our mutual friend who we were later meeting for dinner. We already had that planned, but it wasn't on the itinerary to meet her in the afternoon. She just happened to be in that neighborhood. Now, what people need to understand is Rachel works in Queens and lives in Brooklyn.
Okay.
I live and work in Queens, and we ran into her right outside Central Park on the west side of Manhattan. Like, it just doesn't happen every day.
And it was a few hours after I had asked, like, do you ever run into people you know?
Yeah,
because
it
just seems wild.
rare. Yeah, it's a big city, but it's actually quite small. When you're there long enough, yes, you do run into people, but pretty rare. And then we're on the same corner as Rachel, who we had dinner plans with later that night. And podcast
Perfect.
show plans. So we saw Rachel, so that was really fun because you got to meet her in person.
Yeah.
Rachel did our website, criminalityshow.com.
And Moms and Mysteries. She did both.
And Moms and Mysteries. And she's done Rebecca Sebastian. Oh my gosh, she's done legitimately all of our websites. Like seriously, DM us if you need someone. She's really, really good. Yeah. If you're using Squarespace, that's like her specialty. So then we have our downtime. You go back to your hotel.
I feel bad for you on this.
I turn around, I come back.
This worked out much better for me.
Well, yeah, you're the tourist who gets the, sweet location and the hotel. Like, that's just the way to do it. So it's fine. I go home, I pat my face and turn around. And we meet for dinner. We have a really nice dinner with Rachel. And then we go to see Ronnie and Ben watch What Crappens live at Town Hall. Okay.
I was so excited. I have not gotten to see Ronnie and Ben. You and Rachel went for the Crappies, right?
Year.
The 10-year. And I wanted to go to that. And I even bought a ticket for that, but I wasn't able to do it. So I was beside myself, so excited. And it was just, I don't know. It was so cool. It was, I don't know. It was everything I wanted it to be.
And
my medicine's starting to kick back in. I missed a few days. Because I left it here and I can literally feel it recharging as we're sitting here talking. Yeah.
That's the only upside to a lapse in medication is when you're when the veil lifts and the Technicolor comes back and you're life isn't black and white. Yeah. And it was a great live show. They covered the last episode, which was last week's Jersey, which we were not our favorite. We wish they did Vanderpump, but the character work they do on Jersey,
so good.
There's actually nothing better really than the voices from.
It was a perfect one. Yeah.
It was so good. And, they say don't meet your heroes, but we did. And we recommend it highly.
It was so great. We had a connection to be able to meet Ronnie and Ben after. Yeah. And we got to meet them immediately after, which I felt guilty about because I was these other people are already, it was kind of last minute. And it was so cool though. And we got to spend a few minutes with them.
We did.
Longer than I should have because I was diarrhea of the
We
mouth.
all had to say our piece. We all had to speak our piece. And it was really fun because I said, we're from Criminality. And they were like, oh, because we've interacted on Instagram. And it seemed like there was some recognition on their part. So that was thrilling. So then we were just basically high on life and but exhausted.
And Rachel wanted to still do something, which... What a sweet person.
I know.
Rachel, and you're the best, but absolutely
not.
not.
Optimistic, at dinner, let's come back here to the rooftop and hear live music because they were doing that. And I'm let's definitely do that. And then after the show, I was oh, that was young, less tired Rebecca. It's time to go.
Oh, yeah. Regular Melissa did not even get involved in that conversation.
You didn't.
I was
you said nothing during that.
I will be skedaddling right out of here.
Yeah. So called it a night. And then we had another big day planned for Friday, but how did Friday start? Do you remember?
Oh, I had a breakfast thing that I went to that was really cool. I had a working breakfast, which was really cool.
Power breakfast, if you will.
It was a power breakfast. And so that was great. And it was kind of cool. Just I went to New York a few years ago and I went with my husband and a couple of mutual friends. And so I hadn't gotten to do anything by myself. So it felt like at 39 years old, I felt very grown up being able to walk out of the hotel and figure out where I was going. But I was
as you should.
Yeah. So it was kind of a silly, but fun thing to be able to figure it out. And I mean, is it John Mulaney who his whole thing is the streets are numbered and you go up to, over to, and calls people a B word, but that's basically what it was. But, I figured it out. So I was very happy.
No, you should wear that proudly. Then we met back up and we did that. What?
I'm thinking the flags. That was what was next in my head. It just made me laugh.
Oh, yes, that's right. We met back up and we walked very far east to the East River where the United Nations is, which was not far from your hotel. But do you want to tell everyone? Yeah, it was such a fun pit stop.
Yeah, my son is completely obsessed with flags and geography, and we play flag games every day, and Rebekah got to overhear one of those, and that's all he talks about, all the videos we watch. It's fun because it has to be fun, because it's literally my entire life. So we were able to, well, you were the like shining star of the UN because they wanted your information, everything. They were like, we're not worried about, although Florida, they should have been worried about me.
Absolutely.
But they needed all your information
Like,
to go
please
into
search
the UN.
her. I've wanted to since I picked her up. Yeah, no, I didn't even know the UN had a gift shop, but I found out they did. And I'm like, we're going there and you're going to get your kids some flags.
Yeah.
But you have to like go through a massive security check to go into the gift shop, which was such a fun, honestly, it was like an experience and I've never done it. So that was just fun to learn about. Got some flags.
Yes.
Saw the UN, took some pictures. And then we walked north and west,
Couldn't tell ya.
but stayed on the east side to 63rd Street, where a certain Sonia Morgan lives.
Okay. What an exciting moment.
Right?
Wait, Rebekah, what was going on with her townhome? Two things of note. One was the sign, right? For sale, which I had already been told by somebody else, and I'm sure you had said this to me too, that it goes up and down just
it's on and off
randomly.
the market all the time.
Mm-hmm. The other thing was her like windows were open.
Well,
I mean,
the
not
windows weren't
the
open, the
blinds.
blinds, the shades. And I'd never seen that. And I said that too. I'm like, whoa, I've never seen it. And I've walked by more than once. That was alarming.
I was looking for Pickles to see if she might be in there doing
Or
some
just-
dusting or something.
Yeah, or just like a wellness check, frankly.
Yeah, Harry Dubin, anything. I was looking for signs of life, but that
And there
was
was
thrilling.
a QR code on the sign, and we followed
yeah.
it. Do you remember the price? I want to say 7 million, but that sounds too
6
little.
or 7, yeah. I thought, no, I think that's it.
Was
I
it
think
7 million?
somewhere around
Yeah.
there. Mhm.
And I think the taxes were like 80 grand a year.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was interesting. And we took some pictures there. Those are in our reel, which is on our Instagram feed. That was really fun. That was really fun to
Yeah.
see and to be in that little spot. We walked by Bloomingdale's, which is a place we talk about a lot here.
Well, it's where you almost got sugar babied.
It is.
Unfortunately, it was not.
The land of missed opportunities for me. And then what did we do?
Oh, wait. One thing about Sonia's place was you told me to like look out for this, but it's literally she's like set up connected to the parking garage.
Yeah.
Where if you've watched it, it doesn't look like that at all. It looks like she's, in between a few things, but it's literally like going to be people fighting to go into the parking garage right next to her open window at the front. So that was really strange. Like, I want to go back and watch some of those entrances into her house to see like how they managed to do that.
Yeah, because it's a very beautiful block, but she really has the worst location on that block, which is so on brand for Sonia, like to live on this very quaint street next to the garage.
There you go.
But
I have
yeah,
a question.
it's funny.
Where did like the Alec Baldwins, like where in New York do they live?
I mean, it depends. There's so many. I don't actually know where Alec Baldwin lives, but like a lot of people choose to have massive apartments in doorman buildings so that people aren't walking by their brownstone and peeking in. Like Sarah Jessica Parker lives in a brownstone. And I have always thought that sounds very vulnerable. So there's like very fancy buildings that have doormen, and then you're going to be high up and they're going to buy like 1 or 2 or 3 apartments on a floor, combine
Got
them
it.
so that it's as big as a brownstone house, but more insular and you don't have to interact so much with people. I don't know where he in particular lives. My guess would be it's something like that.
It was wild to me that like, okay, I don't want this to happen to her, but she could just walk into her little area and somebody could walk in right behind her.
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
I know. And like Taylor Swift lives in a house like that in Tribeca downtown in a like very cool area, but it is just kind of like your front door is right there. Now she has armed security all over the place and she's a bona fide celebrity.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know why she lives like that, honestly. But I would say like really A-list celebrities live in buildings where they're not so reachable. But there are
That
like
was very important.
I don't know where Andy I know he lives in the West Village, but I don't know if it's an apartment or a house. I feel like it's a brownstone. But I'm not sure.
What was next, Rebekah? Oh, I know where.
What did we
went
do?
Next.
Where?
We were walking again towards Bryant Park, NYU, something like that, right?
Washington Square Park.
Washington Square.
But no, first we took the subway downtown. So yeah, we took the train and that also went smoothly. my favorite podcast is Armchair Expert with Dax Shepard, and him and his co-host Monica talk about this burger that they get every time they're in New York at this place called Emily. And I've always wanted to try it, but it's kind of an out of the way neighborhood for me. I don't know. I've just never managed to do it. And then I saw it was very close to the Comedy Cellar where you and I were going to go. And I'm like, Melissa, we're getting this cheeseburger. And wow. Tell the people about the cheeseburger.
So good. I mean, I don't even know what the whole deal was. It was on a pretzel bun. So right there, elevated.
Mm-hmm.
It was like
There's a
double.
sauce.
Yeah, there's a sauce. But you know what I kind of, don't hate me for this. You know what I kind of wish we would have done?
Tell me.
Half burger, half pizza. Because their pizza looked so good. And like we could have split it and then done
I don't
that.
hate that at all. I thought you meant half pizza burger. Like,
Oh, gosh, no.
I'm like, Melissa, you've lost me.
No.
Is that a Florida thing? I was like,
No, I hope not. I
No,
mean,
no.
it could be. I don't know.
I want to go back and try the pizza because everyone around us was getting, it was either pizza or burgers. That's what everyone was getting. And the pizza does look amazing. And I've recently learned, or since then learned, it's a Detroit style pizza, which I've never had.
Interesting.
Square, kind of like
It looks so good.
thinner than Chicago, thicker than New York, looked amazing. So the burger did not disappoint. So that was so fun and delicious. And we were so full. So we like rolled over to Comedy Cellar, which was on your major bucket list.
That was like the only thing I really wanted to go. And
That's
I
right.
would have told you to your face, if we can't go, it's totally fine. But I
course.
would have been
I
a
know.
little devastated. But I messed that up myself. I didn't have, I don't know. Anyway, I tried to go a few years ago. It was a complete disaster. It was the only place again on my list. But once again, we were able to, somebody helped us get tickets and we were able to get in.
Yep.
And that was your first time in the Comedy Cellar, right?
It was. I've
It's
seen a
so
lot
cool.
of stand-up in New York, but I've never gone there. And it's the iconic
right
place.
It's like the Mecca. Mhm.
Yeah, it is the Mecca. And it's, you see that little stained glass art piece saying the name
Right.
hanging up on that wall. And you just think of all the things you've watched with that behind
Yeah.
the stand-up. It's so cool. We had a great lineup. You knew more of the stand-ups
Yeah.
than I did, which isn't surprising.
Well, I mean, really, I only knew Jim Norton. He was on there.
And
I
Ryan
recognized, Ryan Hamilton. That's
That
who
was
I
big.
wanted to see last time.
I know.
So I couldn't believe he was there. Like it just, I was just so excited. It was total redemption for my last trip.
It
And
really
he
was.
so good. Wasn't he great?
So
He's so funny.
Good. The big one for me was the guy named Greer.
So funny.
I'd
Yeah.
never seen him anywhere, and you've found some of his content after and sent it, and now like he's really someone I'm like looking for now. Like I found him so unique and like his perspective
Totally.
and his voice work. I really liked him. But we almost had a situation.
Rebekah, tell the people what the situation was.
You want me to tell them?
Well, I'm still recovering.
Okay.
I felt like, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so the Comedy Cellar is a very tiny venue, low ceilings. I mean, how many people, it was at capacity, and how many people could possibly have fit in there? 100?
Oh, I don't even think that
60,
much, unless I
80?
just didn't see it. Yeah, something like that. There's
it's
nobody's
tiny,
there.
and where the tables are lined up very close together. You've got a chair, your chair, and you're backing right up to one and one behind you. So you've got a chair to your side and your back, and then there's a table to your left, and they're just like crammed in. So we get shown to
Airplanes are more comfortable.
Agreed. That's a good,
Right?
Yeah. Just to set the stage, and we get seated. You don't just go in and choose your seat. You get seated in designated spots. So we were given our 2 seats, and I gave you the one on the end, kind of closer, just a
which was
little
very
bit
nice of you.
closer to the street. I mean, look, this was Melissa's tour, so you needed that seat. I took the second one, so I've got 2 people right behind me, but you only had me behind you because you were like the top of the table. And then this guy says, "Hey, tell me if I'm getting this wrong, because it's kind of a blur, because I was seeing red pretty quickly."
And in my head, I created a whole situation. So go ahead. I'd like to hear
And
what
in
you
my
think
head
happened.
too, I assigned him some traits I don't know that he had when I retold this to my family. But I remember him saying something like, "Hey, since we're short and you guys are tall, what if we switched?"
Okay, so a little bit like that, but what I heard was, "Hey, you're really tall. I'm not going to be able to see around you. Can you switch with me and my wife?" So I heard it never about him being short, but all of it being on me being freakishly tall.
Interesting. That
that's
could
what I
be
heard.
what it was. I just kind of felt like he was maybe directing it at you, but sort of included me. And I was like, bro, I am many things. Tall is not one. And I said, and you start immediately going into, sure. Like,
I turn immediately and say, yes.
Okay. And I would too, if it was directed at me, but I was just not having it. I just was like, not today. Nick.
The way it worked out was perfect because as I turn around to tell him, yeah, sure, I look at your face that was like, absolutely
I
not.
said, you saw the New Yorker in
And
me
there
come
I
out.
found the courage.
Yeah.
I found the
I
courage
said,
there.
Melissa, no. I'm like, he is an a-hole and we're not moving. So I turned to him and I said, you know what, sir? This is like her trip to New York. This is the one thing she wanted to do. That's the seat she's going to have. I know. And he's like, yeah, us too. And I'm like, it is what it is. And then I said something like, there's going to be a person on stage, not like a mouse. You're going to see them. It's going to be fine. And you're like, I can slump. I'm a really good sloucher. Look how small I can be. And you're like shrinking in your seat. And I'm like, be normal. Just sit in your space.
Well,
like,
that's impossible. I can't do that.
I was like seething though. And I turned my back so he's behind me. And I'm like, God help me if he asks again. Then I had to stand up because he gets up. And I'm like, he's going to the manager. I can feel it.
I never thought
knew he was.
would.
No, I knew the minute. Where was he going to go? There's waiter and table service. The
Right.
only place he'd go is the restroom. And he wouldn't have been going that furiously. And the woman he was with, don't you think she was embarrassed?
Oh, yeah. I felt bad for her.
She was pretty embarrassed. So he's going and I see him whispering. I'm like, oh, he's talking to the manager. And I was like, we are not moving. And so then the waiter comes and he's asking everyone for their order. And the lady that was with him, I was like, did your husband want something? She's like, I don't know if he's coming back. And I'm like, And then they got moved to another table.
Yes.
And there was poetic justice.
There was. And am I allowed to say that he was a very short man? He was so short. He was a tiny, tiny person.
Yep.
Not a little person. I'm not making fun of anyone. But when I saw him stand up, I thought, you're not a very nice person. And God knew that when he made you.
And you know what else we both knew? He would never have done this to a man. I'm sorry. There's no way that guy would have said, sir, you're so much taller than me. Could you move? He wouldn't have.
Here's the thing. If you looked at the guy that was sitting across from me, because the table's kind of like in a U shape. So the person on the other side, that guy was bigger than me.
Absolutely.
He was taller than me.
Absolutely.
And no one said boo to him.
No, I know. And I was so livid. So they get moved. And I'm like, Melissa, they're in a side table and he's behind a column.
It was good. And I don't want to cheer for people to be miserable at something like that.
I do.
I know.
I was so mad.
It was like embarrassing because I really don't go through my life thinking like I'm freakishly tall. But in that moment, he made me feel so bad about myself that I was
hated
like
him. I was so pissed.
It was a couple times that he asked though, because
there was more.
It wasn't.
You're right.
It was once he saw that I was like kind of like maybe I would. He just was like, we're just not going to be able to see it. And then he like did like a whole bob back and forth for me to see.
And that's when I was like, sir, there's no one on the stage right now. When there is, you'll see them. They'll be standing up.
Right.
And it is slightly elevated. It's not like a high stage, but it's like, this isn't a show of mice. Like I
honestly,
don't get it.
there's no great seats unless you were in that first row that we weren't in.
Right.
Like
we were right behind that row.
Visually, it's just not. It's challenging for anyone. And I was so uncomfortable in those seats because it's just not meant to be. No. You're there for like,
you're not in a
45
theater
minutes. It's very
style.
short.
No, exactly.
No. So no one's going to be but you're laughing and you're having such a good time. But anyway, so Rebekah, absolutely. I was like, this is what New York is. Welcome to New York.
That New Yorker rests in me and I reserve it for certain moments. And like, those are the ones. It's like, you will not take something that is not yours, sir. And it's like the same thing that gets activated if it's about your kids. Like that's the feeling I had. Yeah. The level of protection I had over you was just like mama bear mode. Like, like I dared him to keep trying. With my eyes.
I know. I was like, I'm afraid I'm going to have to pull Rebekah off of this tiny man.
Hold my earrings, Melissa.
No. But unfortunately, that was not my first altercation of our trip.
That's right. We forgot the night before.
forgot.
You're a magnet for altercations. Tell them what happened at town hall the night before.
So at town hall at Watch What Crappens, there's bathrooms upstairs. And so like in the middle of the show where they were like, I'd watched the episode, so I absolutely knew, you know, when like the boring part was. So whenever they were talking about, what's the one with all the like words on her shirts and stuff? I always forget her name. Danielle. When they started doing Danielle, I'm like, I'm going upstairs.
Yeah.
So to use the restroom. So I leave, and when I get up there, there's like individual bathrooms, and I hear this guy, and he's like, girl, get out of the bathroom. I know you're on your phone. But it was more like, hey, girl. So I couldn't quite figure out. I didn't realize it was an angry, hey,
was
girl.
Was it girl, or did he say the B word? Or did it escalate into the B word? Oh, okay.
But it still sounded like, hey, girl at first. Because I'm like, I don't know. And
like
I'm
in
like,
a
this
Lizzo
is
way.
weird. Maybe people talk like this. Yeah. So I'm just like listening. And then he like keeps saying it. Then the girl swings the door open. And he's like, she wants to go to the bathroom. You need to get out of there. She, pointing to me, needs to go to the bathroom. First of all, he's in front of me. He very much needed to go to the bathroom before I did. And she's like, who did you call a B? Who did you call a B? And I was like, but at that point, somebody came out of the other bathroom. So I like ran into that one. When I come out, security is up there. They're talking to the girl, and I don't know where the guy went. I think they escorted him out or something. But she points to me. She's like, she saw the whole thing. And I was like, oh, and I just like ran downstairs. So I was like, I was just in my first kerfuffle. And got to witness another one with Rebekah the next day. So
but wait,
I feel
that's
like
so funny.
Perfect.
Also, we should say that it was a unisex bathroom.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Just
That
might
was
be
the whole
confusing.
thing. Like,
there was a women's room, but it was like way longer of a line and wait. So they had like different situations. And then I went to the bathroom later and had that confused look on my face. And the usher was like, are you looking for the bathroom? There's one this way and one that way. I said, which one's easier to get to? And he's like, why don't you go downstairs? There was a situation in the one upstairs. I'm like, oh, I know. My friend was a witness.
I was like texting you guys, but I was like, I don't know how to write all these words. And what if he takes my phone and he's like, girl, you're in line. Get in the bathroom, girl. You're just on your phone. I was terrified. So anyway, it was fun though. Like I got my heart rate up, and I was doing great.
It has to happen at least once in New York, or you really didn't experience it.
And it happened twice.
That was actually the night I had the worst commute home. That was the only actual glitch in the whole experience.
Matrix.
My train it was just one of those nights on the subway that was really bad. And then my phone died, and I was like in a neighborhood, and I couldn't call an Uber, and
that was
all's well
absolutely horrific. I was eating lemon heads while watching your text come through. I was eating lemon heads and watching Vanderpump Rules while you're like, I think my battery's going to die.
Yeah.
I'm not off the train. It's still going. And I'm like, oh, good luck, girl.
I know. And Rachel's going, get out at every stop. She's like, get out. And I'm like, no, I think I can press my luck and make it home. The next stop is mine. And all the stops on the board of the subway just change. Like it's just changing direction. Like
that's wild.
Skips my stop. This happens. This happens when there's service work or after midnight on weekends. It does not happen on weeknights. It was the weirdest thing. So I get out at the next stop. I call an Uber. Before it confirms that I'd gotten it, phone went dark. So now, as I told you, I didn't know if the Uber was coming to me or if it even went through or if I should be looking for like a yellow cab, of which there were none. Anyway, an Uber came for me. My phone was dead at that point, and I just got in hoping and praying this was mine, and it was, and he had a charger, so it was all good. But it took like an hour and a half to get home.
Really nightmare. Yeah.
But yeah, so that
my trip was great.
But yours was perfect because you just walked your little self to your perfect hotel.
Yeah.
As it should be. So Friday night we saw the comedy, and then that was it.
I think that was it, right?
Yeah. Then you went to the hotel. I went home, and you flew home in the morning.
Yeah, I got a bagel before I left because I was like, I'm going to be a big girl one more time.
Yeah.
Yes, that seems like the most. And the best picture I took the entire time was of the stupid bagel. The most artistic. Only thing is of this bagel as I'm leaving. I'm like, of course,
perfect,
Melissa, like a hot mess the entire time. Yeah. So anyway, it was so much fun.
It really was.
Yeah, it's one of those where I'm afraid to ever try it again because it couldn't go better.
Thinking that, like, I do want you to come back, and you will. and it'll be great. But this one I think was special. It'll stand
It was
alone.
really, yeah, it was perfect. So anyway, yeah. I don't think anything super exciting happened outside of that. It was just fun. It was relaxing. I never felt stressed. I know you did on your trip home, but like
that was it.
It was what I needed. I really, it was
did.
perfect.
You got
I
to get
told
away.
my husband.
Yeah,
it was.
Good.
It was really nice. I wasn't responsible for anyone's anything, so I loved it.
So good. Yeah, it was truly, truly fun, and this was fun recording today.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
tonight, I mean, by the time everyone hears this, it will have happened. But tonight is the season finale of Vanderpump, and you will be live tweeting from Criminality Show. I will tweeting alongside you personally. So maybe we'll chat about that in the next episode. Maybe not, but
yeah, it'll be old news.
It'll be old news by then. Yeah, I mean, then we'll be buckling up for 3 parts of a reunion. So I mean, I'm ready to, I'm here for it all, but I'm like, let's
I'm here
wrap
in the
this up.
moment.
Yeah.
But I think after tonight I'll be like, okay, I have everything I need to know. But tonight feels like the most locked in. We haven't gotten much. We got like the 1 minute part of it, but like last week they gave us like 7 minutes.
I know.
This week we only have 1 minute, so we really have no idea what we're in store for. And I'm so excited.
Me too. And I'm supposed to go watch it live at a bar with our friend Rachel.
Yes.
Because she's cool and knows about things like this, but I'm
Yeah.
already losing steam and it's at 9. But I think I should go because they're treating it like a Super Bowl. Like people are gathering together to watch it.
Honestly, I think that would be really cool.
So
Like,
that could be
yeah. If I was there and not by myself, I would do it, which I wouldn't do by myself.
If you were here, we would definitely be going together.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
wouldn't give you a choice in the matter, but
Yeah, fair.
yeah. So happy season finale.
Happy season
everyone
finale.
Who celebrates and
happy trip. Thanks for sticking with us to hear all about a trip that none of you were at, but we thought of you.
We
You're
sure
there in
did.
spirit.
Absolutely. And thanks for listening today. You can find Melissa every Tuesday on her other podcast, Moms and Mysteries.
And you can find Rebekah at RebekahSebastian.com, created by Rachel.
That's right.
And amazing. She did such a great job. You have so many great pictures on there. It's really, I love your website. And I love mine. But
we're actually updating it right now, Rachel and I, because I'm doing new things. I got to add an update. So yeah, watch this space.
Watch this space.
Thanks everyone for listening. You can follow us on Instagram at Criminality Show.
I mean, we're almost to just Instagram. It's going very badly. I'm going to do Twitter tonight. TikTok, I don't know that I have the personality for it or like the momentum.
Well, that's
it's
a
just
comfort
like a
because you have to be
constant
so
thing.
ahead of it. Yeah, exactly. It's like if you're doing it, the commitment it takes and the staying with the algorithm thing, it's like, I don't know. It's
There's
lot.
nothing worse than putting yourself out there and getting like 32 views. It
Absolutely.
is truly, it's great because no one saw you embarrass yourself, but also you're like, those
Why am I
32
doing this?
people need to
Yeah.
take that to the grave.
Right.
So yeah, that's where I'm at.
Yeah. So yeah, just look at our website and follow us on Instagram. Leave us a review.
Yes, please
If you
do.
enjoy the
Those are
show,
great.
we appreciate that so much. 5
And if you're
stars
still
and a
listening at
review.
this point, you enjoy the show. I mean,
Yeah,
come on.
100%.
It's almost 2 hours.
Don't be shy. And thanks again. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Bye.